How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about the Steam Deck. Yes, I've been re-trapped in the basement. I'm back from Italy. They threw me down here. They slammed the trap door, and this time they threw away the key. So all I have left to do is make videos. Thanks for the reception to the one I recorded in Italy. I have never gotten so many nice comments from people who watch Deck Ready, and I can't believe there are people in Italy who watch Deck Ready. Yes, we have a worldwide audience of deck gamers down there in the comments, and I could not be more excited. In today's video, I've got 3 topics to cover, starting out with a brand new Steam Deck update that brings over a lot of great features from the beta. After that, I know there's a ton of games coming out this fall, but I've got 2 that are perfect for the Steam Deck that I'm really excited about. Before I jump into the video, the deal is still on. 100,000 subscribers gets a full video recorded in my Dodge Viper. The weather is in our favor. It is still summer weather this late in September here in Michigan. So yeah, we're close. We're almost at 80K and there's only 20K to go. It would really help me out if you subscribed and set your notifications to all. But let's jump into the first news story here and talk about this latest Steam Deck update because it's great. So they just did one that added in a lot of features, but this one is even better because right after they did the last Steam Deck update, they did a beta that was all bug fixes for the OS and like using the actual Steam Deck. And they're all issues that finally affected me. Like every time there's an issue where someone's like, oh, my Steam Deck is catching on fire randomly, and then I have to like hit this 5-button combination to make it work. Can you help? I'm like, I've never experienced that, but all of these ones were things I experienced. So I'm really glad a lot of them were fixed. So the first fix that they've got with this update is if you use wired headphones with the 3.5mm jack on the Steam Deck, I'm sure you've had this happen where, you know, you're playing at a reasonable volume with the headphones like plugged in, and then you unplug them and it goes to full blast. And if you're on a plane like I just was, or you're in a coffee shop, playing a game audio at full blast is not a great feeling for anyone normal. I know there's people out there who think it's amazing to pull out their Bluetooth speaker in public and play whatever music they want to, or watch TikTok or Instagram reels at full volume, but me, someone who's respectful of the people around me, there's nothing worse than when I'm at Starbucks playing a game while I wait for a video to export, and then I unplug the headphones and the audio goes full blast and everyone hears, I don't know, Resident Evil 2 Remake or whatever else I'm playing at the time. So it's good that they fixed that. That was a long-standing bug. I've had that happen so many times that I was really just getting annoyed to the point where I got USB-C dongle headphones so I wouldn't have to deal with it. So thankfully, if you use 3.5mm jack headphones, they fixed the problem where it goes to full blast volume when you unplug it. The second issue has to do with Wi-Fi, and I've mentioned it multiple times over the past few months because we've gotten plenty of beta updates that were then turned into stable updates, that the first thing in the bulleted list of stuff they fixed was this issue, which is when you put your Steam Deck to sleep for too long and take it out of sleep mode, it's like, oh, I don't have a Wi-Fi chip anymore. You have no Wi-Fi. You have no internet connectivity, and you have to fully restart your Steam Deck to turn the Wi-Fi chip back on. It was like a whole cadence of getting beta. We fixed it. It's not fixed. Beta, we fixed it. It's not fixed. And then now they've got the last beta out and now it's unstable. And I'm happy to report that it is fixed. I went offline, I went online, I turned my Steam Deck into sleep mode on the plane, I opened it back up, I directly connected to Delta's terrible garbage Wi-Fi. Everything with the Wi-Fi going away is finally fixed on my specific Steam Deck OLED. The reason I have to point that out is every time I say something's fixed, of course there's someone who's still having the problem. Like in the last video when I talked about the brand new update, someone said they haven't had an update since June. So like there's still some weirdness going on in the world of the Steam Deck hardware, but this critical issue that has been plaguing me since like March or April of this year, fingers crossed, is finally fixed by this latest Steam Deck update. Everyone give Valve a round of applause. I'm holding a mic, so I can't do it. If I hit this mic, it's going to make a weird noise. So you give Valve a round of applause for finally figuring out the Wi-Fi issue they introduced with some random update a long time ago on the Steam Deck. Another big issue they fixed has to do with limiting your battery's charge. So like if you didn't know, in an earlier this year Steam Deck update, they added the ability to limit your battery to charge to only 80%. And it was like guessing, like sometimes it would go to like 95, sometimes it'd go to 70, sometimes it would actually go to 80. And a lot of times once you would unplug the charger, it was totally wrong in what percentage it was actually showing as you played a game. So you'd get to like 50%, you'd think you had half your battery, you'd throw the Steam Deck in your backpack, you'd get to Starbucks and pull it out to play some games, and then it would just drop to like 20% because it was estimating the amount of battery life left wrong. I'm assuming it has to do with whatever code they're running to limit it at 80% when it charges to that. Regardless, the issue is fixed. It will now charge to 80% and stop without turning off your Steam Deck or picking a random number to charge to, and they've accuratized surprised the battery percentage you will see when your Steam Deck is on. I've had this in beta on my Steam Deck. Like the whole time I was in Italy, I had the beta that included this feature. It works. Like my Steam Deck only charges to 80% right on the dot. And when I played it, I leave the battery indicator up with the performance monitor and I would watch it fall a percent at a time. It wasn't doing any of this crazy stuff where it goes from like 80 to 40 in a matter of seconds. So great job there. That's an excellent bug fix. Now this next feature is one that they added and a lot of people were really excited about it. Then it had major problems, so they took it away. It's now back and it works fine. It's not causing the problems anymore. I think you could guess what I'm talking about. It's the turning on your Steam Deck with a controller. The issues that were happening where people would throw their Steam Deck in their case and they'd have their DualSense connected to their Steam Deck and their PlayStation 5. So then like their wife or their kid would go sit down and try to turn on the PS5. It would turn on the Steam Deck inside the case in their backpack, which is basically blowing hot air into the enclosed case, which if you have a Steam Deck OLED 1 terabyte, it's actually two cases. It's the slim case with the hard shell. So it was overheating people's Steam Decks and then it would go into battery safe mode, which is bad. And then there were also people who were saying that they'd like leave controllers like the Switch controller connected to their Steam Deck. Then they'd turn their Steam Deck into sleep mode. They'd come back and their Steam Deck would either be on or completely dead because it was like getting phantom turn on syndrome from the Bluetooth controllers. So that's why they took it away, but now they fixed it. I have the Nintendo Switch 1 controller, which has 1 million hours of battery life for some reason. You know when it's connected to Bluetooth because it has a little blue light around one of the buttons. I connected it when the Switch 2 came out to my Steam Deck. I put it next to my desk. I haven't touched it since. That blue light has been on forever. So when this update was broken, my Steam Deck would randomly turn on. And now when I've been on the beta where they reintroduced it, it has not turned on randomly. It's just been working as intended. So thankfully, the Wake with Bluetooth feature is re-enabled. Thank God. And finally, if you're a Legion Go SteamOS user, they've improved the functionality of the FPS mode. If you haven't seen this, the Legion Go and Legion Go 2 have detachable Switch 2 style controllers, but they also come with a little dock where you can plant the right controller into the dock and use it as a mouse, which is great for FPS games. That was not working all that well with SteamOS since it was added to the Legion Go original and I guess Legion Go 2 coming up. So they've improved functionality there and they've introduced new controller firmware for the SteamOS Legion Go S. That's great because as someone who has that thing, the controller just stops working randomly and it's so frustrating because once again, just like the Wi-Fi issue, you have to restart the thing from scratch, get back into SteamOS, and then magically you have to download 5 million shaders and it's just a pain in the butt. So I'm glad that they fixed the controller. Again, I have the beta on the Legion Go S and it hasn't had any of these issues. So yeah, the big bug fix update is out now on your Steam Deck. You should be able to just download it and install it. And I will say a lot of those issues that they had early on where updates would fail and then you'd have to re-image your deck, fingers crossed. I mean, I could be wrong, but I haven't had any of those issues in at least a year and a half. So it seems like they're finally getting into a cadence where stuff just works with the Steam Deck. And thankfully they fixed most, if not all of the major bugs that they introduced earlier this year. I think that's great. Where is the Steam frame? Like we got the trademark, we've seen a picture of it allegedly. Where is it? I want to know, like, what are you preparing for, Valve? Like, tell us, please. Thank you. But good job on this update. I think you did a great job. All right, let's move on to the second news topic, which is about 2 new games that are excellent on the Steam Deck. The first one is Tokyo Extreme Racer. Now, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know I bought this game in early access and it had a critical flaw in the sense that even if you set it to the lowest settings, it couldn't run at a locked 60 FPS. It would have major fluctuations. And then if you set it at 30 FPS, the game's speed was tied to the FPS. It needed a 60 FPS input. They never fixed that. So I've just been patiently waiting for them to fix that so I could play it at 30 FPS with higher graphic settings. And they did that with the 1.0 launch that also added in a ton of new content. I got to give Genki Racing Project a huge shout out here. This is an Unreal Engine 5 game that just works. There's no stuttering. There's no major performance issues. I don't think there's forced ray tracing. Everything just works as intended. And this has, as far as Unreal Engine 5 games go, the best quality graphics I've seen on the Steam Deck that also coincide with the best performance so far. So the best perfect 30 FPS settings where you'll never see a frame drop is medium preset. So set it to medium, then go down to upscalers and set it to native. So it's just running at 1.0 resolution scale. Set it to FXAA anti-aliasing, turn VSync off and set the frame rate to unlimited. It doesn't need upscaling to run at a locked 30 FPS and that's good because this is a good looking game. The setup is interesting. If you've ever played racing games like arcade racer games, you're probably expecting this to be a lot like Need for Speed, but it's a little bit different. You're basically just plop down into the Tokyo Freeway and then you ride around it in a big circle for the first part of the game and look for people to race, and then you flash your brights at them. And the way the races are set up is you've got to get in front of them and you both have a spirit points bar, and the longer you stay ahead of them, the more it drains their spirit points. The longer they stay ahead of you, it drains your spirit points, and you've got to drain the person's spirit points to 0 before they drain yours. There's obviously a ton of Japanese cars, from total shit boxes all the way up to things like the Skyline GTR and everything. So as far as cars go, you've got a great selection here. And every time you beat a racer, you get money and experience points. Then when you've raced enough, you go back to your garage, you spend the money on parts, and then you spend the skill points in a skill tree that can unlock cars at the dealership. It can unlock abilities for your driver. It can unlock parts for your car, and you pick and choose what you want to spend your points in. I've spent it all on parts to make my car faster. I'm sticking with my starter car, just making it look cool as hell, fast as hell, and I've just been having so much fun with this game. It's really good, and honestly, they deserve major bonus points for how short the early access period was for this game. It came out in January, and it's out in 1.0 in September. They prioritized PC. They did announce it for PS5 for next year, but as far as the Steam Deck goes, this is like the best racing game de facto. I know everyone loves Forza Horizon, but like I have to come up with new settings every 3 freaking months in Forza Horizon because they introduce some update that adds in stuttering or major graphical issues. Like right now in both Forza Horizon 4 and 5, if you use HDR, it just makes the text illegible, and it just sucks not being able to use HDR on the Steam Deck OLED. So thankfully I have like a combined 1,000 hours in both of those games where I know how to do everything with my eyes closed, but it's just annoying having to deal with that stuff. And this is just like a different flavor of racing game, honestly. Like there's not a lot of games like it, and I'm glad it's back because I used to play it on my PSP all the time, and then the series just completely went away. The best part is, the icing on the cake is that I don't want to say it, I'll say it. It's a budget game. It's $50 at launch, but it's a AAA Unreal Engine 5 game that's perfectly optimized. It runs well. It's got a great car list. It's got a cool little story. It's got great driving. And I think at $50, it is a budget game because, you know, I would pay $70 for it. It feels like a full-on AAA, full release racing game, and they're charging $50 for it on Steam, which is excellent. The next game that should be out by the time you see this video is Final Fantasy Tactics: The Ivalice Chronicles. These titles that Square Enix comes up with, man, are insane. They are the worst game namers in the entire industry, and something needs to be done about it because all it is a ground up remake of Final Fantasy Tactics that runs at a hard lock 60 FPS on the Steam Deck. This game can have hundreds of hours of content, or you can just stick with the story. If you're into games like XCOM, you're into games like Fire Emblem, if you've played Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Lions on PSP, it's just such a great game from top to bottom. And it's hard, man. Like in the normal, regular mode, like you will die repeatedly. You'll have to save scum. You'll have to do everything you can for the intro of the game to get out of battles by the skin of your teeth. This is like the best game ever to start out with in terms of tactical strategy games because it's hard. It's legitimately very hard. So I think that's worth picking up. I think it's $60 at launch, which, like, if we're being real, is a little expensive for this game, but you could get it with a little bit of a discount from Green Man Gaming. And like I mentioned, you leave the graphic settings alone, you set it at 60 FPS, you play the game, and because it's a remake of a PS1 game or maybe a PSP game, you're going to get great battery life. And it was the best on PSP. Like, it was great on PS1, I'm sure, playing it on a TV, but having this game in handheld format, I think makes it worth picking up at launch if you're not into survival horror like I am, and you're not playing Silent Hill F or Dying Light the Beast or Tokyo Extreme Racer or like any of the other million games coming out, and you're just looking for a great tactical strategy game for your Steam Deck. I think this is a great pick, even compared to something like Project Triangle Strategy, which I think was $50. I'd pick this for $10 more over that. But anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and shape on.